Let's talk about defying the odds. Now, basically, this is about gardening and the way people generally choose to garden. Now, as a seasoned gardener, I have my way of going about gardening. I've gardened in different climates in different countries. And so, at my level, I've garnered methods of gardening and growing certain foods. Now, as for experimenting with different plants, this is something that I'm very interested in. And so I choose a certain plant every year that I would be growing for the first time that's non native to my grow zone, or I should say, more of a tropical type plant. And I try to create that microsystem for that plant so that it would grow, it would thrive, and reach a level of production. Now, there's so much information out there with advice on how to do certain things and how to grow certain things. But sometimes people fail to remember that everybody's growing situation is not the same. Everybody's growth zone and their climate and the conditions that they are able to provide for that plant may not be the same. So we have to be aware when giving advice. This is why I try not to give advice. Rather, I come on and I show what I do, how I do it, whether I make blunders in doing so or whether I'm successful. Now, as for new gardeners, it can be confusing with the information that's out there, and sometimes you may feel intimidated, for lack of a better word, or you may not be quite certain of what you should do, what you should grow, and how to go ahead and start. But what I say is gather information first pre-season, which is before the growing season begins. So you're basically planning your garden for the upcoming season. And it doesn't matter if it's in containers you're growing in or if you're growing directly in the ground. Just know your grow zone, know what native plants will do well in your grow zone, and choose foods that you like to grow. And until you get comfortable enough, you can try different plants that require more attention. Now, as a gardener growing in Zone 6B, I like experimenting with tropical plants. And so I've been growing tropical plants to succession for years. Now, I'm going to take you and show you some of the tropical plants that I've been growing over the years in succession. Some of them have not yet come to maturity to the point of producing, but they are healthy and they are growing. And I'm able to keep them alive by providing the conditions that they need to survive. And believe it or not, people have told me before, oh, you can't grow this in your zone, or you shouldn't be growing this in your zone. But guess what? That's not your place. You don't get to tell me what I can and cannot do, because I am going to prove you wrong. Not just to prove you wrong, but it's because I want to grow what I want to grow, so I'm going to grow it. So let's go take a walk so I can show you the tropical plants that I have growing in my zone. And of course, they are growing in containers. I am now using much bigger planters, which these were 55-gallon drums that I repurposed and turned them into planters. So this right here is a banana that I'm growing, and as you can see, it's surviving pretty well. I potted it in this bigger planter earlier in the spring, and it's loving this space. It's looking just beautiful in here. And there's another one right here. I have another variety that's called Hardy that I planted right in ground. And I planted this here in the spring, so we'll see what it's going to do. It's supposed to die back and spring back out. The rhizome is supposed to stay alive and spring back out the next season. So that's it for my bananas so far. Next, I have a golden apple seedling or June plum, which I am going to pot this, but it's looking so healthy compared to the way it was when I got it last year. It was just a little twig, but it has shown so much growth and I'm able to keep it alive, which is a good thing. I'm going to pot it, like I said, so I can give the roots more room to grow. Next is my pigeon peas or gungo peas. These I've had them for 2 years so far, and they have produced peas for me, not in abundance, but they have produced where I can harvest. The trees have put on a lot of growth on them, and they're looking healthy. I'm able to keep them alive. Next up, I have a mango plant here that I found somewhere in my garden that sprouted, and I decided last year that I'm gonna dig it up and I'll pot it in this 20-gallon bucket, and it's doing pretty well. I just put a piece of bamboo to stabilize the stem, and so I know it may not grow to production, but I can definitely use the leaves from it because the leaves have medicinal benefits. Then I have a yam right here growing in this container. I grew these from yam seeds that I picked off a yam vine when I was on vacation back in December of 2023. And look how much growth it has. It sprouted this spring, and there's a whole bunch of growth in it. And the way it's growing on this banana tree as it would in the garden back home. And so the yam vine is actually using the banana plant as a trellis to run on. And it's doing it naturally. I didn't guide it that way. That's just how it's happening. Next up, I have this avocado that I've grew from seed. It's been growing for 3 years now. This year I had to put this cage around it because for some reason an animal decided to go in and bite the stem lower down at the bottom there. So I caged it up and it's doing really fine. It's put on a whole lot of growth. I don't know how big it's going to grow, but it has been growing so well. And I'm really hoping that I'll be able to grow this till it produces fruit. And I'm excited about that. I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that happens and give it the condition it needs so that can actually happen. Next up, I have a guava here that has flowers on it. It flowered and fruited before. I've had it for like 3 years, and I potted it to this bigger container right here, so it's doing pretty well. Then I have this pomegranate here. This is a tropical variety, or a warm weather, whatever you want to call it, variety. And this is the wonderful plum. I've had it for a few years also. It's doing pretty well in this container that I potted in this year. A lot of these I was able to obtain these barrels and I pot them this year. So they're doing so much better in here because there's more room for the roots to expand and keep the tree healthy. Now I also have a cold hardy variety that I planted in ground that is somewhere over here in this jungle. Oh, there it is. I have a ground cherry that's just spread out. But this is the pomegranate right here. And don't ask me to pronounce the name. It's a hardy Russian pomegranate variety. This is the name of it. I like to keep my tags near the plant because I really can't keep up with all of the varieties. Even though I know it's a pomegranate, I can't tell you what each variety is because it's a lot to remember. I'm more focused on taking care of the plant and growing food. Here is another guava I have growing here. Guava leaves have medicinal benefit. Don't take it from me. Do your research and look up your information yourself. I also have some different varieties of dragon fruits. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. They have not produced anything as yet, but they're doing pretty fine. I'm still learning a lot about dragon fruit. There's a couple of varieties that I really like, but either way I'm still going to grow them and provide the conditions that they need to grow, and hopefully they get to the point where they start bearing fruit. Over here now I have passion fruit, and I'm smelling the flower because it's very fragrant. And this is, I believe, the incense variety. This is another variety right here that has not flowered, gone to flower as yet. I have to put a trellis so you can run on it. There's another variety, and let me just tell you what the varieties are. This one is a Panama Passion. It's a purple passion fruit. This one here is, let's see if we can find the tags. There we go. This one is a red passion flower, Passiflora miniata. This one here is probably this one I think is another purple one. Oh, possum purple. passion fruit, which I had one of these before, but last year I believe it got so much water from the spring rain and I had already brought them outdoors, and I had a lot of root rot and then it died. So I was able to get another plant and it's doing pretty well in here. And look guys, I got a soursop that I'm growing from seed. Actually I have a couple of these that I'm growing from seed, and it's looking pretty well. It's doing really well, but they struggle during the winter time. They drop their leaves and all of that, and sometimes I think they die off, but as you can see it's still alive, so I'm able to keep that alive. Here I have I don't know, it's a cactus, and I'm gonna call it what I know it as. It's a cochineal. We Grenadians call it cochineal. You can use it in your hair when you're washing your hair. People use it as a wound cleaner. Some people would saute it and eat it as food. I've never eaten it before, but since I'm growing it here, I think I'm gonna try. I'm willing to try it. I know it's slimy, but I do like okra, and okra is also slimy. This is a beautiful hibiscus that I'm growing here, and I got these cuttings from my sister last December in 2023, and as you can see the flowers are budding. I have 2 of the cuttings in here. I'm going to eventually transplant it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of roots at the bottom, but for now I'll let it be, and of course I'm going to bring it indoors in the winter time. I also have some healthy looking lemongrass that I need to harvest. So guess what? There's a lot I can actually grow in my zone, even though there are tropicals. This here is a cardamom, a green cardamom plant that I purchased. It's a seedling I purchased from Logie's, and I purchased a lot of my plants from Logie's, and these are mostly tropicals that I purchased from them. Also citruses I purchased from them. They tend to have a lot of the plants that I like growing, even though I'm in this zone. So that's pretty much my source for my tropicals. Over here I have pineapples growing. I've had them in here for a couple years. As you can see, this is the original plant right here. And I guess the new pup is feeding off of this one. And these are from pineapples that I purchased in store, and I decided to plant the top, and as you can see it's growing pretty well, and I'm hoping that at some point I get a pineapple from it. Now I meant to mention this here is an aronia berry, a goji berry, and another passion fruit. Now this is a cold hardy passion fruit, and this is a maypop, and it's planted in ground. And I'm hopeful. Oh, yep. We have more flower buds coming out on this. Look how many. Gee. So I have to find something that I can trellis this on better. This tomato cage is not enough for it, because I know it grow a lot more than that. And like the others, the flowers are fragrant. So I have pretty much like 5 or 6 passion fruit varieties that I'm caring for. Only one cold hardy one, so I got my work cut out for me. I have to overwinter all of these and provide the conditions that they will thrive in and that they will stay alive in, at least, because you don't want to spend all this money, because they're not cheap. You don't want to spend money and invest in something that you're not going to take care of. Well, for me, it's important that when I spend money to obtain a plant that's non-native to my grow zone, that I'm able to keep it alive and I am able to give it what it needs to grow. I also have other tropical herbs like this here. I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm going to call it an oregano. It's growing prolifically. Look at this. And I use this to make green seasonings. It's a cutting that I got from my sister back home, and I just put it in this pot. I did share a cutting or two with a couple other people, and the report is that it's doing really well and they enjoy it. This here is also a tropical or a warm weather herb, and this is bay leaf, if you recognize it. So it's in a container. I will have to overwinter it. I also have things like aloe vera growing and coffee plants and vanilla bean growing. and about 12 to 15 different citruses, as you can see. Some of them have already fruited before. I had some of them for years. Lemon, lime, orange, different varieties. Kumquat, this one here is a sweet miwa kumquat that has flowered a whole lot. I don't know if you can still see the flowers. They've already started to drop, as you can see. So this is going to be loaded with fruit this year. I also have a variegated pink lemon right here. I am excited about all of this tropicality going on around here. I also have some turmeric, some culantro that I planted from seed, or as we say it, shadow benny. And all of these are in containers that I'm going to be potting. This is a yellow dragon fruit here from seed. I have this persimmon here, and I have a couple more varieties of persimmon. Two I have in ground, which is cold hardy. I'm not going to walk back over there to show you, but this is not cold hardy, and this one is the Fuyu Japanese persimmon. So hence the reason it's in a container. I also have a couple more here. There's one Fuyugaki. I do not know if it's the same. I'm still learning a whole lot of these different varieties of plants that I'm growing. There's also another one right here. Let's see, which one is this? I'm not going to pronounce this. It's a gyro Asian persimmon. Ichi, ki, gyro. I don't know, because I don't even sound right pronouncing it, but that's what it is, a gyro persimmon. So in total, I have probably about 3, 4, 7 different persimmon varieties, some tropical type, and a couple which is cold hardy. So we have yet to see the cold hardy ones, how it's going to hold up during the winter. Hopefully the winter is not too harsh, but either way I'm going to try my best to protect them, especially the base of it, the roots. In the winter time, I'm just going to cover it up with some leaves, and hopefully it springs back up in the springtime next year. Here, some big time or Cuban oregano, but it's big time for me. And some citruses that I'm growing from seed. And I'm growing them from seed because I like doing an experiment. And to me, it's like, from what I experienced before, it's like some plants that you think are tropicals, when you start them young in my zone, they do really well and they hold up really well, and they can take some really cold weather, because I keep a lot of my quote unquote tropical plants in my unheated garage over the winter time, and they do really well. Even peppers, like these pepper plants right here, these were overwintered. See how thick the stem is? It's because I overwintered them from last year. And they're holding up pretty well. As you can see, this is an old growth from last year, and I cut it down, and now we have new growth that is putting on seasoning pepper, what we call seasoning pepper in Grenada, but I guess it's known as pimento pepper. So I have 2 of these that I was able to overwinter, and they're doing pretty well in my unheated garage. So yes, I know I have a lot going on in my garden with my tropicals. Oh, I forgot to show you my blue turmeric, which is quote unquote tropical, but nevertheless, this is what's going on with my tropical plants. Be encouraged that if you want to try growing non-native plants, unless it's positive energy and positive advice, don't listen to the noise. Because as you can see, I just showed you a bunch of tropical plants that I'm growing here, and I also showed you the old growth on some of them, so you know for sure that I've had them for quite a while. Oh, one more thing, or 2 more things, or 3 more things I want to show you. I'm going to show you because I try things out. It takes me a couple years, but this right here is in a 5-gallon bucket, and this is a coyote squash or a crystal bean. And I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly, because this growth here is all dried out, and that's because I was away from the garden for a couple weeks. But as you can see, they're springing back now, and I'm able to water them in. The rain has been falling for a couple days now, and they're looking a little better. I don't know if I'm gonna get fruit from them, but either way, they're looking much better than when I came back from vacation. Another one of the plants I'm growing is five finger or carambola. And look at it, guys. It's just hidden in here. And I totally forgot. So if you want to grow tropicals in your zone that's cooler or non-tropical, go for it, guys. One more thing I want to show you is a loofah that I am growing from seed also right here. And last year I grew it in ground, but this year I learned from my mistake because it didn't have a long enough period, and so it died off right when it started to flower in numbers and send out fruits. So now I'm growing this in a bucket, in a 5-gallon bucket. As you can see, it's running up here on my deck, and I am going to actually take it indoors to the point where it would produce fruit and produce loofah, so I can wash my skin with it, I can scrub my face, I can scrub my callous feet with it after working so hard out in the garden. But all in all, y'all, I am having fun with what I'm doing. It's my peaceful space. I can relax after a hard day in the garden. It's really hot out now, as you can see, but it's cool over the side where I'm sitting. And this is what I look forward to when I'm done in the garden. I did a lot of weeding this morning, a lot of harvesting. It's in my herbs. I have some cornflower here and some mullein. I harvested some hot peppers also. And I have my okra water right here that I'm going to be drinking to cool off. But I'm just sitting back here chilling out now, relaxing from a morning of hard work in the garden and just enjoying my garden space. So, like I said, grow whatever food you choose to grow responsibly. And if you can, I encourage you to grow it as natural as possible, because everybody's situation is not the same, and I understand and also respect that. So you do what you have to do to produce your food. And to be quite honest, a lot of the things that are sold in stores for growing, it's unnecessary. It's quite unnecessary, and I just think it's a money flow thing, and that's just my opinion, because I did not learn to grow with those things. I didn't grow up doing it, and now I don't use it at all to be successful in my garden. I'm going to end this video right here because I can go on and on about garden, because it's my passion, it's my lifestyle, it's my happy place, it's my peaceful space. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, any questions, please leave it in the comment section below, and I will see you on the next upload.